Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is Friday, April the 11th. We have some core PPI at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. as well. Um, let's go over some charts here. We'll talk about the game plan kind of coming into core PPI, and then we'll develop our game plan here in about 30 minutes. Good morning. What's up, everyone? What's up, Jesse? Seamus, what's up, B Roots? What's up, I definitely am gonna pronounce that name wrong. What's up, Juan, Monty, Darth? What's good, Benjamin, Josh, Zena, Robert, um, Sona, Bob, Luis, Deuce, Infinite. What's up, Robert? Miss Reggie, Sakib, Otis, Paul, Rob, Ray, Sven, Wayne, Showtime, Lauren, what's up? Cuba, Ivan, Jason, Jenna, Chris, Daniel, Brett, Patrick, Bill. Yeah, hope everyone's doing well. We'll kind of go over some charts here coming into core PPI, and then we'll develop our game plan, and then we'll talk about potentially consumer sentiment here as well. Let's first start off on the ES. So really coming into yesterday, the key levels that we have marked out that we mentioned was your Monday's high. It was also your Tuesday's highs as well. And then we also had your previous day highs, which is your 5520. So coming into yesterday, price immediately just kind of stayed heavy and then just started gravitating back towards the downside. You can see we just came right back in towards this key wick that we had from its previous day, which was this tariff pause news that ended up pushing towards the upside. So we just gravitated towards half of the range. And then you can see the markets just kind of consolidating ever since. So after we had that big push on Wednesday, Thursday, now we're just inside of it. So we basically have what's called an inside bar. If we go into the daily chart, you can see for the overall market, at least on the SPY, right, we have a nice inside bar day forming. So you can see really big day on Wednesday. Now Thursday, we have an inside bar. So on Friday today, what we're going to be looking for is the key level around your Mondays, Tuesday, and Wednesday's high. So coming into today, you can see how key this level is, which is your 525, multiple touches. As I mentioned, this is your Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays highs. And now you can see we're just kind of around this general area. So we're basically around the exact area that we ended up opening up at. So this is your key level coming into today, right? Your 525. If we maintain your 525, we could see this potential push back up in towards, now it's going to be your previous day highs, your 533 here on the overall markets. If we get back underneath your 525, we're just going to be looking for this push potentially back down in towards your previous day's lows. So coming into today, all we're looking for is really for the price to gravitate in towards your previous day lows, or we're going to be looking to target your previous day highs and your 536 coming into this morning. So for the SPY, key levels, 525 is going to be very key, and then just mark off your 535, and now you can mark out your previous day lows and potentially your 505 here on the SPY. Coming into today, right, it being a Friday, we'll see what shapes up here with the actual news events, because we do have two major news red folder news events coming into this morning, being consumer sentiment and core PPI. So we'll just be looking for the reaction that we have off of your 525 here. If we go on to the NQ, the key level, similar to the ES, is going to be your Mondays and your Tuesdays highs. So this is your 18,400. If you go back onto the lower timeframes here, you can see that price, try using this area right off the bat, right? We ended up pushing underneath yesterday, where you had this retest, but then we had no follow through, which was making a new low of day. And we're now just kind of consolidating around this general area. So coming into this morning, similar to the ES, what we want to do is just see the reaction that we have off of your 18,440. If we just maintain this 18,440, the next key level towards the upside is just going to be your previous day highs and the area that we broke down from yesterday, which is your 19,000. If you get underneath your 18,440, you potentially could see this move back down in towards your previous day lows. And the next key level would be your 17,680, which is really the area that we opened up at. So key level today, 18,440 here for the NQ. For the ES, the level is a little bit more clear. It's basically your Mondays and your Tuesdays highs, which is your 440. Go into lower time frames here. Now you can see we're basically trying to hold this general area for the QQQ. So as long as you maintain your 440, I like to see this push back up in towards your previous day highs, which is just your 458. If you get underneath your 444, potentially we could see this push back down in towards your previous day lows, which is your 432. So we'll just see what happens coming into core PPI. That's in about 25 minutes here. Now we'll just go over some of the tech names that we're looking at coming into this morning, and then we'll take a look at some charts coming into 8:30. Similar game plan to kind of yesterday as well. So Tesla coming into today, key levels that we have marked out is your 260. So 260 here on Tesla. Other key levels that we have marked out was your Monday's high. We also had your Tuesday's highs marked out. You can just drag this over. So currently right now you can see we're just right around this key area. Monday's highs, Tuesday's highs, and now we just have multiple touches. So you can see a little bit more consolidation after that initial push towards the downside yesterday, the half of the session, and now in the pre-market as well. You can see a lot of consolidation just around this 252. So now what I really like to see is the reaction that we have off this level. Maintain your 252. You can see this push back up in towards. Now it's going to be this 260. We break underneath this 250. We can see this push back down in towards your previous day lows, which is going to be that 240. So we'll see the reaction that we have off of 250 coming into market open. Most likely, if the market stays like this coming into 8:30 along with the market open as well, there's a good chance I'll probably just consolidate until that consumer sentiment that is going to be at 10 a.m. Today. As for NVIDIA, the key levels that we have marked out is your Tuesday's high, which is your 106. You can see this level is holding nicely on the overall market. So for NVIDIA, what I would like to see is it just maintain this 106. So I'd like to see it maintain this 106 for this push back up in towards. Now it's going to be your previous day highs, which is your 111, and potentially above, which is your 114. So I like to see these lower highs be built. Sorry, these higher lows right off of now. It's going to be that 106 for that continued push back towards the upside here on the overall markets on NVIDIA, back up in towards that 111. So that's the key levels coming into this morning here. If we go on to Apple, kind of remove a couple things here. So for Apple, this one's still staying heavy compared to the overall markets. Yesterday, inside bar day, a lot of these names, if you just go into the daily chart, a lot of inside bar days for almost every single ticker here. So key levels, when you have the inside bar day, right, just mark out previous day highs, previous day lows, and then you want to mark out your outer bars as well, which we normally do. So for Apple, key levels is your 190. So your 190 is key here on Apple. If we can get above your 190 and also your previous day highs as well, I'd like to see this kind of push back up in towards, it's going to be your outer bar, which is your Wednesday's highs. If we break underneath your 190, we're just going to see this push back down in towards your previous day lows, and then your Wednesday's lows is all the way back down in towards your 176. So really just mark out your outer bar today. And then we could also mark out this 190 key level. So we can do that just super quick. So previous day highs, we can also mark out your previous day lows. And then in this case, since we have a tighter range, we can also mark out your pre-market highs, pre-market lows. What we like to see break underneath, continuation lower down and towards your previous day lows. Break above, we like to see this push back up in towards your previous day highs here on Apple. And that's really the similar thesis you want to have on a lot of these names, is you want to now mark out your previous day highs and previous day lows. And these are the areas that you could be looking to target coming into today and this morning. So for Amazon, next levels, and really next chart that we have, the key levels on Amazon is this 184 here marked out on Amazon. We also have your 178. So yesterday we were just trading in between this 184 and this 178. So you can see once we tried holding this right off the bat, right, price ended up dropping with the overall market. So it just came back down towards our next key level, which was your 178. So now you can see we're in between this 184 and this 178. What you like to see is really the reaction off of these key levels. If we maintain inside this range, we're just going to come back inside this range, come back towards the downside. For Amazon, if you come back all the way down in towards this 178, we could see this potential kind of bounce. So until we can really break outside of this 178, which is break below or break back above, right, a reclaim, then I just expect it to be inside this range, which is your 184 and your 178 coming into today here on Amazon. Some other tickers that we do have, We have Microsoft key levels is going to be this 386. 386 is going to be key here on Microsoft. As you can see, so far, the first dip kind of getting bought up, but now it's going to have to reclaim this 386 if you want to see any sort of continuation. Basically, your key level from Wednesday, your previous day highs, and now what we like to see break above your 386 for this continue push back up in towards your Wednesday's highs and potentially above, which is going to be this 396 here on Microsoft. For Google, the key levels that we have marked out is now going to be this 156, just a general area. And then the other key levels we have marked out is your 152. So we like to see it above your 156 for any sort of continued pushback towards the upside here. If you get underneath your 156, you're going to see this pushback down in towards your previous lows, which is going to be that 152 here on Google. As for Meta, key levels that we have marked out is now just going to be this 547. And then we also have marked out here your 532 on Meta. So if we go into the lower time frames here, kind of just zoom in for Meta, what we like to see is now just the hold really of your Monday's highs, your Tuesday's highs, and we like to see price really maintain above your previous day lows, right? Reclaim now your 547 for this pushback up in towards yesterday's range that we created, which is now just going to be like these up close candles that you're going to have marked out here as well for Meta. AMD, the key levels we have marked out today is just going to be your Mondays and Tuesdays highs. You can see price, Mondays, Tuesdays highs. We tried holding it right off the bat. Now we end up using this as resistance later into the day. Now, if we can get back above your 89 key level, what I would like to see here on AMD is this pushback up in towards, right, potentially your previous day highs here if we can maintain your 89. So that's going to be key here for AMD, 89 key psych level. And then for Netflix, it's just going to be getting back above your Tuesday's highs, which is going to be this 924. So coming into today, really for the SPY and keys, we're just going to keep an eye out on this 525 key level, which is SPY 525 Mondays and Tuesdays highs. That's going to be key here. You can see a little bit of reaction so far coming into the pre-market. So really coming into today, it's all about this 525. If you maintain 525, right, we like to see kind of this pushback up in towards your previous day highs. So far coming to market open, right, I do expect a little bit more consolidation right off the bat within the first 30 minutes. We also do have red folder news events as well. So most likely we are just going to kind of consolidate in this general area for the first 30 minutes unless consumer sentiment or core PPI, we have an initial push right off the bat at 8:30. So this is going to be the key level 525. And then for the Qs, as I mentioned, right, Mondays, Tuesdays highs, which is your 440. So 440 is going to be key. We're also going to have marked out as well, basically your 456. So 456 is key here for Qs. If you maintain your 444, I would like to see this push back up in towards your previous day highs, or potentially, right, if we could break above your pre-market highs, we can see this push back up in towards your previous day highs, which is going to be this 458. So those are going to be key coming into this morning. And then really a lot of these ones similar to the Qs, we're just going to wait here until core PPI at 8:30. That's going to be in about 15 minutes here. And then we'll just basically develop our game plan coming into market open. If you guys do have any charts here as well, I can go over them now. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Sorry if I was a little fast as well. I actually just got a new prescription on my glasses, so my eyes actually kind of hurt. I think it's going to take a while to adjust, but hope everyone's doing well. Let's see. Good morning. What's up, everyone? SMCI. So yeah, for SMCI, key levels that we have for SMCI, really inside bar day as well. It's the exact same levels as before. Nothing really has changed in this case, right? 37 key level. We also have marked out 32 inside bar day, right? Previous day highs, previous day lows. And then now you can mark out this key high, which is your inner bar, which is your previous day highs, previous day lows, and then your outer bar, 37, 32. So for SMCI, if you want to see any sort of continuation, break above your previous day highs, push out in towards this outer bar, break underneath, right? We're just gonna come right back down in towards your previous day low and your outer bar. So key levels, right? Just previous day highs, previous day lows, and you want to have those marked out as well. Let's see. We have Micron, MU, similar levels on MU. Really today for MU, key levels that we have marked out, can actually get rid of this, is just your Mondays and Tuesdays highs. You can see this once we ended up getting underneath, right, coming into market open, price ended up using this as a retest back towards the downside. And now we're just kind of inside the range that we created on Wednesday, which is pretty big range here, 63. You also have your 78. Right, this one looks like it's just right inside the range that we created for this whole week. So I wouldn't be surprised if MU really doesn't do anything today and just kind of stays within inside this range. So a lot of these tickers today, we could potentially see an expansion move back towards the upside just based off of what we're looking at currently on the weekly time frame. I do expect this to be the high for the week. So I don't expect the markets to make a new high for the week. So I expect it to really close fairly close to this 442. Right, 442 is going to be key coming into today. I don't expect markets to, let's say, gravitate back above your previous day highs and then continue above your 457 and continue back up in towards your Wednesday's highs. This very well could be a possibility, but just based off what the weekly chart's doing, how big of a move we already had, plus we have a couple red folder news events, there's a greater chance that we kind of just come down today and we just kind of consolidate for the rest of the week after this big push here on Wednesday. So we'll just mark that out, right? Key levels, if you do want some more upside, right? I already have the levels marked out, which is going to be your 533. And then for the Qs, it's going to have to now get back above. For me, it's going to have to get back above this 457 here if we do want to see any more upside or potentially make a new high for the week. Palantir, what's up? Good morning. Palantir key levels, fairly clear in this case. It's going to be that Tuesday's highs. So for Palantir, Tuesday's highs so far you can see is holding. And now you can see for Palantir, we're kind of making this mini downtrend. As you can see, right, push towards the upside, mini bull flag, holding your Tuesday's highs. Now what you like to see on Palantir, the push above and really break above your previous day highs and break above this 92. So coming to market open, what we like to see is really this push up in towards your previous day highs and this Wednesday's highs as well, which is going to be this 92. What you like to see now for Palantir, right? One of two things, right? Push up in towards that 92 coming to market open. For potential trading opportunity, really this is what you're going to be looking for. Another scenario, maybe if it has a really strong push right off the bat, you could be looking for the retest off of your 92 for continuation higher. But really the first one's going to be the best. You're going to be looking for some sort of consolidation and then a push up in towards your previous day highs and potentially this gap that we had on Wednesday, which is this 92 key level. So that's what we have here on Palantir. Let me grab some water real quick. Can you make a video on how to correctly mark key levels before trading and explain why? That's basically what I do here in the pre-market. All the levels are the exact same. If you ever see how I draw levels, obviously these levels are already pre-drawn out because I haven't changed them, but they're just all old highs and old lows. I have majority of my videos, I always just explain the logic behind them. But if you're to draw them out, they're just old highs and old lows. Like these ones, like this level 440 is just your high from Monday, high from Tuesday. Another key level, this was basically your high from Thursday last week, right? The low from this day, they're all just old highs and old lows. Where you can see this 457. This was your last Thursday's, or I think that, yeah, last Thursday's high. This one, previous day highs on Wednesday, and they're just all old highs and old lows. So if you ever see how Marco charts, I do have videos on it. If you watch a couple videos, I think it's called Key Flip Zones. That's the one that I mark out key levels. They're just always old highs, right? Previous day highs and previous day lows. Rookie question, could someone tell me how to get a chart like this? Our numbers never match. The numbers should just always be the same, unless you maybe have adjusted contracts on and off, but all the levels are just going to be exactly the same. Qs, I went over that one. Qs, if you want to go back, I already went over that one on Qs. Palantir, what about Solana? Solana, the overall Bitcoin in US as well, right? Solana basically made a fresh low kind of all the way back here. It's just kind of consolidating now with the overall markets. But what we like to see here is now just pushing back into the general area. This is basically where your order block is. You can see we broke underneath it. Now for any sort of upside, it's going to have to reclaim this key level for this push back towards the upside here on Solana. So with Bitcoin, so far is kind of holding up with this general market. Bitcoin's just coming back for this retest. So kind of talked about this one. It's going to gravitate back in towards this retest level, which is your previous pivot high from March 11th. Now you can see, right, buyers are basically stepping in right off this retest level. And as long as it maintains this retest level, we like to see this continue push back towards the upside here on the overall market on Bitcoin. So those are the key levels you want to have marked out. Not quite hit your retest, but very close. This is just your key level, right? 73, basically your 74,000. And now you can see kind of a little bit of bounce here on Bitcoin. I would like to see the full touch of your basically 73, potentially dig deeper into 70. But if it holds this, potentially with the market bouncing here as well, right, you could see this reversal. If we now reclaim, it's going to be this key pivot high, which is your 84,000. Let's see, ESNQ went over those ones. Gold JP just announced earnings too. Yeah, I think I just got a news event for that. What's JP Morgan? JPM. So yeah, JP Morgan, I guess this had earnings. Didn't really do too much. I think it mentioned, what was the news on this one? Tops quarterly expectations as Dominion US faces considerable turbulence. So yeah, at least for JPM, really this earnings season is going to be kind of big as well, coming into Q2. Just seeing where the overall market direction is going to head. We'll see what happens. We'll see how the companies report as well. Some companies, I think, are choosing not to report, so we'll see how that kind of holds up. Let's see, rookie question. What about Solana? Qs, you say 440, but you have 440. Is that important? You say 440, but you have 444 to 442. Yeah, sorry. If I ever call up price levels as well, basically it's just your Mondays, Tuesdays high. So sometimes I go a little bit quicker and I just have the price level. I say something wrong, but it's basically this 444. If you want the exact one, it's going to be your Mondays and Tuesdays highs. So whatever your Mondays and Tuesdays highs are, in this case, your 442. So 442 is going to be the key level here on the QQQ. For Hood, key levels that we have marked out is going to be your 43. And then we also have this key pivot level, which as you can see is your Tuesday's highs. End up using this as a retest. I can see prices bouncing off this. What you would like to see now is this push back up in towards your previous day highs. And now it's going to be your Wednesday's highs here as well. Just drag this over. That was your key level for Hood. For IWM, this one just coming back inside of the range that we created. So for IWM, key levels that we have 190. We also have marked out here as well your 178. So 178, 190 key. We're just kind of inside this consolidation. Multiple touches here for IWM. I expect it to most likely just be inside this range that we created, right? Your Wednesday's highs and lows. Yesterday, just came right back down in towards your 178. I just expected to have a lot more consolidation here on IWM. So I don't expect too much to happen coming into this morning. What's up? Netflix went over that one. How do I join your mastermind class? We do not have a mastermind. Right now, currently, we just have live trading. Let's see, which is through the accelerator. What about Tesla today? For Tesla today, you can see a lot of consolidation. So basically what we have here, right, previous day highs, previous day lows, outer bar high, outer bar low, and now you can mark out, right, your pre-market highs and pre-market lows. So we're coming into like a tighter range here on a lot of these names. What I would like to see is now, right, potentially your opening range break setup. And then let's say if we consolidate, right, get in a super tight range, if we can break above or your pre-market highs, we can see this push up in towards your previous day highs. If we break down below your pre-market lows, we can see this push down in towards your previous day low. So that's what a lot of these tickers are looking like. So I just expect, right, until we have either core PPI that's going to break it, or if we have consumer sentiment, right, I expect a little bit more consolidation coming to market open. And then once we break your pre-market highs or pre-market lows, I like to see this continue push back up in towards your previous day highs or previous day lows. Let's see. INTC, SPY, TSM. How do you decide your stop loss on options? By looking at stock price. It's based off the actual underlying itself. So everything that you calculate is going to be off your underlying. So whenever you are calculating your stop, it's going to be based off the actual underlying stock in itself. And then if you actually want to calculate the price, you usually want to give it a little bit of room. So if you're scalping, you have a good entry, right? Max, you can give it, right, 15, 20%. On if you're trading like one out the money, you're giving it like around 1 point. and you have like your around a key level as well when you're at least scalping. So for INTC, the key levels that you have marked out in this case is really just your 21 and then your key pivot level all the way back down here. So right, kind of swept out this level, right? You can see buyers kind of stepped in right off 18. Now we're just kind of consolidating this general area for INTC, just coming right back up in towards your 20. So we can have this marked out, this key pivot low. Drag this over, key level for INTC, which is this key level, which was your 21, which was multiple touches, as you can see here. And I could see, right, once we got back underneath 21, we just end up coming back now inside of its Wednesday's range, as you can see here. So I expect range most likely today, unless you can break underneath, right, your previous day lows, right? We can see this push down in towards potentially your previous day lows. And then if you can get underneath, maybe we can head lower underneath your previous lows, which is going to be that 1930 here on INTC. For TSM, we also do have 4 minutes until core PPI here as well for TSM. If you look at the daily chart, it's just coming right back down to retest this key level. Let me actually get rid of this. Just mark this over. You can see key level 138.39. We also have a couple gaps back towards the upside here as well on TSM. So in this case, we want to mark out just this key pivot level. You can mark this out. As you can see right here, just this key daily high, right? We have this gap back towards the upside. So for TSM, if you do want to see some more upside, we can also mark out your daily key pivot highs, which is going to be this in this case, right? Your 152. So we have your 152 marked out. We also have this key daily high, which is your Wednesday's high marked out. So now what you like to see on TSM, really the hold of your 154 for this push back up in towards your 162, right? Or the hold now, it's going to be above your previous day highs for this push up in towards your Wednesday's highs as well. So you like to see, right, either the bounce 154 or the hold of your previous day highs for this push back up in towards this 160 here on TSM. Let's see. Will you trade the opening range break if it's inside of the pre-market range? Right, so if it's inside the pre-market range on the opening range break, maybe you're gonna now choose, instead of like a 1 minute, because you're inside the pre-market range, you potentially could use the 5 or 15 minute or opening range break if there's a little bit more consolidation. So if you're expecting consolidation right off the bat, which we'll see what happens with the red folder news that we have in a few minutes, plus consumer sentiment, right? Whenever we have consumer sentiment, it's a big red folder news event. So the market really doesn't move too much before consumer sentiment. So I'm not going to use, right, let's say the 1 minute opening range break, because I'm not expecting the price to break out before 10 a.m. So I expect some more consolidation. So then you can use the 5 minute, or you can use, right, the 15-minute opening range break and just be a little bit more cautious and then wait for 10 o'clock to hit and then kind of develop your thesis after the fact. Thanks. We go over year. Yes, as I mentioned that China just matched tariffs 145. What's your take? We'll see what happens. We'll see if they're bluffing, whatnot. But if that's the case, moving forward, we're not gonna, like, at least I wasn't expecting Tesla to just be like, okay, tariffs are off. Like China is gonna retaliate, but we'll see what happens with the negotiations kind of moving forward here. And that's really gonna affect the market. So we'll see what the market's pricing in. And then there's going to be more red folder news events coming up, and then we're still not out the clear just as of yet. You said SPY level to watch 525. Yeah, 525 here on SPY. With time frame, usually I'm on the 15, right? You can see this on the bottom. The time frame's right here. I guess you can barely see it. Oops. This is the chart I have, right? 15-minute. Usually it's right here. The tickers are on the right-hand side, and then the time frames are top left. Be careful, everyone. Yes. Let's see. Good morning. How long do you How long did it take profitable? A few years. How are you so good at immediately spotting key levels? They're just old highs, old lows. Once you get used to it, you'll see they're just all the exact same levels. So old highs, old lows. Just mark those out on the chart, and you'll see how well price respects these levels. You mentioned inside bar day. Are there typical patterns for the day after inside bar? Yeah, the pattern typically after the inside bar is, right, you're just going to mark out your outer bar, and then you're also going to mark out your inner bar. If we break the classic inside bar pattern, is if you just have an inside bar, basically looks like this. right? We have this, we have your inner bar. What do you like to see break above your inside bar for a push out in towards your outer bar, similar to the downside, right? It's just kind of like an opening range, right? You break outside of your outer bar, sorry, your inner bar, and then you want to target your outer bar. So it looks something like that. Do you ever check out iBit? No, thanks for always explaining answers in depth. Yes. We also have inside bar and spy. Yeah, all these ones are gonna have inside bar. You guys cancel my Discord account. What email should I send my message for account review? I'm not sure if that's a problem, then you must have canceled it yourself because it automatically cancels. You can message WAP. Or if you're already inside the Discord, you can open up a help ticket. So basically always look for higher low to be put in order to go higher after a huge rally. So after a huge rally, now you just want to look for key levels of support. For key levels of support, right, for SPY, it's going to have to maintain this Mondays and Tuesdays highs. Right, just logically speaking, if you don't maintain, you can see what happened yesterday. Price did not maintain your Mondays and Tuesdays high. We end up having this initial push towards the downside. And then if we go into lower time frames, you can see price was looking good for continuation back all the way down in towards this 505, right? Because it didn't have any sort of reaction during this time as well, right? Huge push, huge rejection off of your 525 as well, which was your Mondays and Tuesdays highs. I would have liked to see price, right, if you wanted to continue the trend down in towards your 505, but we ended up getting bought up and then we just kind of consolidated around this general area. So this level is still being used and it's still going to be very key as well coming into this morning. It's not as right, you can expect a little bit more consolidation now, just due to the fact that, right, we're just around this general area, but it's still going to be used very much coming to this morning. All right, let's go on to core CPI. All right, core CPI, let's get this pulled up here. All right, so we just had news, which is your core PPI here at 8:30. You see the markets haven't moved that much just because we have so much volatility. These red folder news events, they're going to matter, but not matter as much. You can see actual plus it's forecasted as well. Next one is going to be this consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So now markets, right, just based off the reaction initially here for the SPY and Qs, you can see didn't have too much of a reaction. Now it's just gonna the key levels are just gonna be your pre-market highs, and now you can also mark out your pre-market lows as well. Basically, it doesn't even look like we had red folder news. So at least coming to this morning, I expect a little bit more consolidation, and then potentially at 10 a.m. Maybe if consumer sentiment is going to move the market a little bit more, but I expect a little bit more consolidation now coming into 10 o'clock here for the overall markets, basically for the SPY and the Qs and the rest of the names as well. They're just going to follow along here with the rest of the overall market. So now we're just going to be waiting, same game plan coming to market open. And now we're just going to wait for most likely the first 15 to 30 minutes to play out and then just wait for consumer sentiment to see if the market wants to pick direction after that. So those are the levels I have marked out. They're the exact same. Nothing else has changed here for the SPY and Qs at least. Now you can also mark out your pre-market high if you'd like to as well. You can do that, which is now just going to be right this key pivot high for the Qs, your 451. And then for SPY, if you would like, you can mark out your pre-market highs, which is just going to be this key level, basically your 530, which also coincides with your key pivot level from its yesterday's session. So now we can just mark out right 553, 525, and you can mark out your pre-market highs. Let's see. For pre-market levels, are you including after hours as well? Yeah, that's basically what the pre-market entails for the pre-market highs and lows, right? If they're not pre-market levels, then they're just intraday levels on the higher time frames. For iBit, this one kind of filled its daily gap that we had. Key levels in this case, now you're just going to have marked out. You just mark out this key pivot level, which you end up taking out. Now, what you like to see is really reclaim this key level, which currently we are above. So key levels in this case is your 46, multiple touches, basically your Monday's highs. Kind of had a nice reaction here now with this big gap up. What you would like to see hold of your 46.20 for this pushback up and towards now. It's going to be this 47.40 here on iBit. So that's going to be the key level that you're going to have. Let's see. Would morning would these setups be considered scalping or day trading? These ones currently today, it's more likely just going to be a scalp, just because it's a Friday. I don't expect any crazy moves. If you're on the lower time frames, it's just going to be purely based off of scalp. So SPY is currently pushing towards the highs here. So we'll see what happens. The key levels, as I mentioned, now it's going to be this pre-market level plus your major level, which is your Mondays and Tuesdays highs. So most likely by the time by the time market does come, it's most likely just going to be back in this general area. So for at least the SPY and Qs wise, right, this pop most likely just going to come right back down in towards or your 830 candle. So you barely had a reaction. Now it's just going to come right back down and just going to consolidate, most likely coming into market open here for the ES and NQ, unless it wants to make a new high, which is going to be this basically after hours high, which is all the way towards your 5378 here. With these said, yes. Any other indicator than levels while trading? Bollinger Bands, anything else? No. You can use, the only indicators I have was VWAP 9 and 21 for scalping. But I only use those in combination with key levels and other confidence as well. Do you trade power hours? If so, what do you do differently? It's the same thing, right? Power hour later into the day. You're just going to be looking for, right? You're not going to be looking for opening setups. You just be looking for intraday setups, and you'll be more on the higher time frames. AMD, already marked out AMD, Euro USD. I personally don't trade Forex, but I talked about this one yesterday. Key levels. Now, I talked about this one yesterday, going to break out in towards that, this high all the way back here. You can see markets end up gravitating towards that key level. So talked about this one, 830 yesterday. I was like, most likely we're just going to get above this key pivot high, and then we're just going to gravitate up in towards your, right, your high that we created all the way back here. And you can see that's basically what it did, right? Super nice push above this key high, right? Nice run all the way up in towards this 1112. And now you can see we're now in a nice little trend towards the upside. After this, right, you already hit my main objective. You now are just going to be waiting. You're going to be a little bit more patient. If you didn't capture it yesterday, you'll probably just be waiting for now the retest of this area, which is going to be this 1.112. For the opening candle, do you mark at the high and low? That is correct. I tried it yesterday and caught a nice sell doing that way. Yes, that is exactly what you want to do. Nice job. Where do you live in Canada? Southern Ontario. How do you choose? How do you choose your same day contracts? How do you choose your same day contracts? In this case, it's just going to be expirations. It's going to be all 0 days. Let's see. PPI underestimates. Yeah. Let's see what time market open. Yes. Which site corp CPI? That was Forex Factory. So whenever you have news events, this is Forex Factory as well. That's where you want to get your at least red folder news. And then for every other news, you can go on to Twitter. That's usually a good site. There's a lot of good accounts that have, right, the Bloomberg terminal. So if you want to have updated like news events intraday, then you can go into Twitter. That's always a good. That's always good to have that pulled up. Okay, let's see. Kilo chart for V. Thanks for IBIT charts. For Visa, you can see a lot of reaction, basically trying to defend this gap that we had created from earnings all the way back here. Nice little bounce on Visa. Now, what you would like to see is it reclaim this key low. Let's kind of just go back onto the daily chart. But daily chart key level you're going to have in this case is just going to be this key pivot low back from March the 14th. So multiple touches. You can also see this kind of coincides with your, right, Tuesday's highs. Now what you like to see, break back above 326, push back up in towards, now it's going to be your high for the week if you can get above this 326. All right. How many contracts should I buy if you want to scale out whole trailers? If you have many contracts should you buy, right? Scaling, if you have 4 contracts, then you can scale, right? Anywhere above like 3 or 4, then you can start scaling in quarters, or you can scale in thirds as well. What software app are you using to trade on? TradingView and Interactive. What's going to happen in ES Futures? I'm going to switch. I'm going to watch it open. I think it's going to break down the balance of the consolidation narrowing. I believe it's going to make a bearish pennant. Do you think it can make a new low? It could make a new low, but just based off where it's at currently, right, it's most likely just going to be consolidation. So the only way it makes a new low if it breaks underneath your 5290, stays heavy underneath your 5290, and then we can see potentially your previous day lows, but it's going to have to get underneath this key level. And then for the SPY, it's going to have to get back underneath. Now it's going to be your Mondays and Tuesdays lows of this week if we want to see any sort of continuation underneath your 525 here for SPY. Okay, yes. All right, I'll quickly go. Yeah, SPY 525 coming to this morning. Qs key level Monday and Tuesday's highs 440. I expect by the time we have market open, we're just most likely just going to be right back in this general area, consolidate probably for the first 30 minutes until consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. And then after 10 a.m., right, we're going to be looking for a potential move after 10 a.m. once consumer sentiment hits. And let's see if we can have a potential kind of trend to target your previous day highs or your previous day lows here. As for the rest of the tickers, basically exact same thing, thesis for all the other tickers. NVIDIA, this one is pushing back towards the high. So what we can be looking for on this one, the key levels I have in this case is just now going to be your previous day highs. Going to have this general area marked out as well. What I would like to see for some more upside, really the break above. Now it's going to be this 111 for this push back up in towards potentially your Wednesday's highs. So we'll keep an eye on NVIDIA coming to market open. And then for the rest of the tickers like Apple, Amazon, these ones are all inside of the range. Microsoft actually looks good if you can get above your 386. But really, besides that, they're all looking exactly the same as the Q. So we're most likely just going to wait until consumer sentiment. If NVIDIA can show a little bit of relative strength, potentially I'd be interested maybe before 10 o'clock. But most likely, just based off what the SPY and Qs is doing, I'm just going to wait for 10 o'clock for consumer sentiment and then look for a trend after that. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. Hope you guys did enjoy that. If you did, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like and sub. Today is a Friday as well after a pretty volatile week, right? If you, right, let's say you had a nice week, right, be size lower here coming into today. If let's say you didn't execute the greatest today, you weren't able to capture kind of the volatility, be more cautious, maybe even take the day off today because there's going to be plenty of more opportunities coming into the next couple of weeks, at least for today. We'll see what kind of shapes up, at least for Friday, right? Inside bar, probably not expecting too much today unless we can have like a move after 10 a.m. with that consumer sentiment. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. And I'll see you guys all next week. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend.